Now podcast. I am your host, Gene, and with me is Jason again. As we continue with our podcast that you know and love, I'm sure, um, let's just get some things out of the way. Like, subscribe, share, comment if you have a nice comment.
Button.
We like nice comments.
Yes.
And check out our YouTube channel. We got a YouTube channel, Talk of the Now podcast. You can find it on YouTube if you want to
right.
see our pretty faces. And this week we're going back. Last week we did top 20 of Jason's favorite 90s movies, which was excellent day. Or last time we did this. No, it was last week, I think. But anyway,
I think it was, yeah.
So this week we're going to go through my top 20. Now, Jason.
Yes, Gene.
I am an amateur comedian, as you know. Not really. I like to fancy myself one. But I kind of want to try. I don't know if we'll call this a segment, but sort of like me talking about. One day I've thought about doing a comedy bits. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I'm brave enough to get up there and do stand-up comedy, just because it's such a high pressure cooker. But I do think about jokes sometimes. What would make a good joke on a stage? You know what I mean? And so in this segment we'll call it Gene's Bits, comedy bits. Whether or not of you, so I'm going to run the bit by you, and you're going to tell me
pieces of Gene. Yes.
You're going to tell me if you think that it might be funny or not. So
hold on to your hats, folks.
I'm not gonna go through the bit because I don't have it fleshed out yet, like how I would, talk about it on stage. But and I'm sure this topic has been talked about a lot.
Oh boy!
But the bit is traffic in Atlanta, and
everybody
basically
just got frustrated. Yeah, go ahead.
Basically, I talk about how when you're driving, there's always that guy or gal that when you're driving and you're getting along and you're about less than 20 yards from that turn, that's when the person decides to put the blinker on. They should have done it 100 yards back, but they put it on about 20 yards before they want to do this turn. So they put this blinker on. And to add insult to injury, they decide that they're going to pump the brakes a little bit before they do this turn. Like, like hard pumping the brakes, and you've got to slam down on your brakes. So those... And let's not forget this guy. The person that wants to stop right there in the middle of your, whatever lane you're in, they decide to stop because they have found their turn. There's the turn. They've got to go right there, and they've decided that's where they're going to turn. So they stop and they put their blinker on, and you're like, "What? Why are you stopping? What are you stopping for?" And scene. There you go, Jason. That's the bit.
That's a good. It's good. It's kind of a good segue into just a whole traffic rant. I think you could just go on for a whole comedy sketch on that. You talk about the guy who has the gall to jump out in front of you, like pull out in front of you, and then go slow.
Yeah.
Or the people who don't realize in their nice silver or gray cars that you have to have your actual headlights on to make your tail lights come on because your daytime running lights don't.
Now slow down. I got to write this stuff down.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, your time. Or the guy who likes to drive slow in the left lane, or likes to stake out in the left lane and keep driving in it. It's a passing lane for a reason.
Are you like me? Like when you drive past that left lane person, you better be an 80-year-old woman with a furry coat on that with glasses as big as Coke bottles trying to get to your granddaughter.
Exactly, and it's still not an excuse.
But, is this where I was supposed to be?
Hey, dadgummit, I don't remember there being.
All right, Grandma, you get a pass.
One lane on this road before.
All right, Grandpa.
There has to be a reason. Otherwise, it's just pure hatred. It's like. Any of us, we grew up in this massive metro area that is famous for its traffic. It's not the worst traffic in the world, but it's up there. And there's just all that stuff going on. Like the people who try to merge and try to stop in the merge lane or try to merge and go slow. Like, no, you're supposed to get up speed.
And then you have these people. This is 2024. We still have these people.
What are you talking about?
They're looking at that phone.
What do you
They're
mean?
just
Like, oh, I can't. How can I not drive like this?
you're texting and it's 2024. It's
Like,
against
it's
the law.
okay. I'm able to look over my phone to drive. Like,
Yeah.
put it down. Put it down. Like, anyway.
Okay, quick story before we get to our topic tonight. I was going down. I was in Lawrenceville, which is a town in
The county,
Georgia,
Gwinnett County, in the Metro Atlanta area.
and Lawrenceville has these weird little old-fashioned merging lanes. Like you could be very confused if you don't know your way around. Like they just like you go 3 lanes to like 2 lanes within about a 20-yard period.
Yep.
And I got into one of these, and this guy, I just wanted to mess with him a little bit. This is probably not right of me to do this, but he was, he was in his Challenger, he was in his Challenger.
Those guys.
He kind of comes up, there's a lane next to me, and I'm in the middle lane, and the third lane over here, he's in Mr. Third Lane. And so I know that within about 30 yards, this curve is going to come up to 2 lanes. Like he's either going to go up on that curve or he's going to have to skedaddle, because I know he wants to go in front of me. So the light turns green, and I just kind of I just give the tease of I'm going to race him. Just kind of, and so he just wide opens, over
See you later.
compensates for his wanting to get in front of me.
Just like,
I mean, Jason, there's literally a red light within 50 yards,
Oh, of
within
course
100
there is.
yards of
Yeah.
that.
you got to get to it
And so
first.
so he does this, and he just sticks his middle finger out at me.
You're
And I'm
number
like
one,
thinking,
G.
you cut me off. You're giving me the finger. You cut me off.
Yep.
It made me laugh. I'm just thinking, I'm not mad at you. You're just anyway. It was funny. You had to be there. That's like
Yeah.
so. On to better things. Let's talk about the 90s movies that I have.
Back to the sound of dial-up internet, everyone.
Yeah. Which, oddly enough, movies seem to have been a little better back then. I don't know. Something to that, huh?
It depends. Yeah. It depends on the movie, but yeah.
Depending on the movie, but I'd say, as a general rule, I heard it talked about that somewhere recently. Back in those days of the 80s or 90s. I mean, your taste for movies is a lot more varied than mine.
I have a theme setting sound effect. Hang on a minute.
Hey, don't get me tagged on YouTube. They'll mute it out.
No.
Copyright infringement.
All right, there we go.
So instead of Time Life sound of the 70s where you get like these yacht rock songs, sounds of the 90s, you just get that hideous tone.
Well, that was how we all got on the internet back in the day, folks. You had to be patient.
All right, so I'm going to try to share my screen here, and I've got my top 20. Now, like you,
High-tech.
Jason, I came to the same, I guess you call it conclusion, where I decided that I don't know if I have a favorite 90s movie.
Yeah.
Maybe I would put I kind of upped my top 5-ish movies toward the top of this list.
Yeah.
So number 1 is not necessarily number 1 in my heart.
Yeah, I get you. This is a package deal.
Right.
Yes. I know.
So yeah. So do you want me to start with the list, or do you want me to start with my what do you call them? Honorable mentions.
Yeah, start with the honorable mentions. That's a good idea.
Excuse me. Okay. Well, there were several honorable mentions, including The Fugitive,
Oh yeah.
which I took out of my top 20. I watched it last week just to see if it should deserve to be there. Still a good movie, but
Oh yeah.
I took it out. But I gotta say though, stellar performance by Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee. Tommy Lee Jones almost stole the movie in that one.
I agree. I kind of think he actually did steal the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, easy argument for sure.
Yeah.
Because he was kind of unexpected with his sarcastic sense of humor in that one
I
line.
can kill my wife. I don't care.
I'm about to say, I figured did you know the line?
But he
Yeah.
did a Peter Pan
He's
right
like,
off this.
I don't care. Which, by the way, I watched.
I've been
the
to that
old-
dam, by the way. Yeah.
Huh?
I've been to that dam in Robbinsville, North Carolina.
Oh, is that where that was? Okay.
Yeah.
Ah. Man, that scene. I had forgotten about that scene. That must have been took them a while to recreate that
Yeah,
mess of a
yeah.
scene. You know. There's a big train wreck scene for those that haven't seen the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. Inside the Actors Studio, the old TV show.
No, it's a great show.
I watched that show with his interview. Like
Tommy
the
Lee
next
Jones.
night. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting guy. Just that interview alone is worth going out there to watch.
Yeah. But
it was very good. He was a very, I mean, this is from the 90s, so I can't imagine what he's up to nowadays, but very interesting guy. I mean, to me, he comes across as like old school, like John Wayne type guy. Like, just think Texan that would rather be out on his cattle farm, but he went to Harvard or wherever it was he went. He went
right. Yeah. Smart guy. Yeah.
yeah, very smart. Okay, so anyways, let me move on. Other movies we got. This one almost made my list. Dances with Wolves.
Mm.
It could be in my 20 just as easy. Yeah, that's just Kevin Costner doing Kevin Costner, and
about 3 hours long. Yep.
Yeah, it does drag at times, but still,
it's well done though. Yeah.
Yeah. I think now did I change? Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Dances with Wolves is in my top 20. I changed it out with A Fugitive, so I'll show that one in a minute.
Okay.
Patriot Games was another one.
Yep.
T2, just because
that was on my list. Yep.
Very innovative for that time period.
Yeah, definitely.
There was no other movie like that when it was made.
No, not at all. Not with the shape shifting thing and all of that. That was stellar, very stellar.
And and you didn't mention these, but they're not my favorite movies. But I can't help but just laugh. The Jim Carrey era of Dumb and Dumber and Pet Detective during the 90s and Liar Liar. I mean, yeah, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, and Liar Liar, and
those are good ones too. Yeah,
the Dumb and Dumber, man. I mean,
that's just a '90s encapsulated thing. Yeah,
I don't know if they're even my favorite comedy movies back then, but it's just hard to. You can't ignore those movies. So, all right, let me see if I can share here, and I am going to show off my top 20 movies.
Look at this guy with his technology.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes.
I usually reduce myself to showing the actual case of the movie.
Now let me know if you see this just fine, Jason. Here we go. First one is this one, Newsies.
Newsies, yeah.
I actually put a
forgot about that one.
There.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
that was an entertaining one that Disney just came out of the blue with. I agree.
Yeah. And it is I don't know if it's his first movie, Christian Bale.
It's one of the first. It's got to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Very entertaining movie, I thought.
Yep.
Next one.
Ooh, spoiler alert! You can see it on the screen. Aladdin. I mean, that's Robin Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, without Robin Williams as the genie, that would not be the entertaining movie as it was. And that was mostly ad-lib, by the way. That was improv that they had to go back and animate.
Yeah.
So,
And the story was good too. It did have a good story.
It did.
Let's see. So at number 18 here we have Back to the Future 3, which I think is kind of an undersold movie.
Yeah, but definitely better than number 2. I'll say that.
Absolutely.
2 was kind of depressing and weird.
Or maybe underrated is what I meant.
Yeah, I thought it was entertaining. I mean, we're just going to you knew they were just going to make it a trilogy, which I was okay with.
I don't think we expected a Western though, in a way.
No, I mean, with where it was set. And if you went back then, it would have been West, but you didn't expect a Western. But it was nicely done.
Yeah, I need to watch it again. I haven't watched it in years, but it was surprisingly, like you said, Back to the Future 2 was a little bit of a letdown, and then this one you're like, oh wow, they kind of redeemed themselves.
Yeah.
Frankly,
by the way, side note, rest in peace, Shelley Duvall. Not that she has anything to do with Back to the Future, but she was.
Oh yeah. She's in your favorite movie of all time.
No.
Oh, I'm confusing her with.
Yeah, you are.
The other girl. They
Yeah.
look so similar.
They do have a similar face, but no. But no, she was in The Shining. She was in Roxanne. She was in a bunch of other stuff, TV too. Yeah, she died today. Anyway,
Very
sorry,
sad.
a bit down. Go ahead.
75 years old. So I mean that's a pretty full life.
Decent life, yeah.
Yeah. All right, next movie. I don't know number on. Maybe 17. Hey, you're supposed to give me the countdown. Just kidding.
Gene,
Here we go.
this would be number 17.
17. The Truman Show.
Ah, yes, very good movie.
So we do have a Jim Carrey comedy, although a different kind of comedy.
It was a comedy, but it was
Drama too.
It showcased his ability to act.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he's typecast as a comedic like, physical comedy actor.
Yeah.
But the man can act,
So can Ed Harris.
Yeah. Yeah, Ed Harris did a good job in that. I mean, everybody did a good job. Filmed in Seaside, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Right off of 30A. We've been there. It's a...
Yeah. I mean, for a while there, it was like, you know what? We need a jerk Southerner to be the bad guy in this movie. Oh, Ed Harris. Let's call Ed.
Yeah. Yeah, he was more the creator, kind of almost god figure in that movie, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, next movie. We have
Get Off My Plane.
Air Force One, Mr. Harrison Ford.
Yeah, he had a run of action films, didn't he?
I'd say so.
At one point, the highest paid actor, in Hollywood.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I noticed watching The Fugitive, I need to watch Air Force One again, by the way. But I do remember it being one of my favorite movies back in those days. That I think that his acting ability.
97, by the way, in case you're wondering. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess as somebody that's taken acting classes before, to me, and you've taken them, you've done acting. Harrison does not overact, if that makes any sense. He knows what not to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's definitely more subdued in his stuff. He's very believable for that reason. Yeah.
Right. Like he makes you it's Harrison Ford. It's Harrison Ford, obviously. But he gives this ability, I think, in especially his older movies, to make you think this is the character, whoever he's playing. He's not overplaying the character, if that makes sense.
I will say most of them are fit to his personality, I think, and his stage presence. Han Solo was a little more flamboyant, as was Indiana Jones to an extent. But then he kind of it's subdued, to where all these are kind of, very polished kind of roles. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, next in line. I don't know where we are. Let's see. 16 maybe?
This 14 now.
We have 20, 19, 18, 17, 16,
15.
Should be 15. Yeah.
Yes.
The Santa Claus. And this is new to my list, by the way, because I watched it last year, or maybe 2 years ago for the first time, and I couldn't stop laughing this whole movie.
It's Tim Allen, man.
Tim Allen, and but it's a good, clean comedy movie about Santa Claus.
Yeah, it's very well done. If you watched any of the new stuff, like the TV show that they did, it's hysterical.
Oh, I need to watch it.
Yeah, it's hysterical. It's that same kind of funny.
Yeah. So, but I don't know why it took so long to watch the movie, but I'm glad I did. And the two sequels after it aren't bad. The second was pretty funny too. We have Jurassic Park. We talked about it last time.
Yeah.
So we all know what went on with that one.
Yeah, it doesn't get much bigger of a movie than that. Yeah.
Yeah, unexpected. Kind of like T2.
Yep.
Next, Home Alone.
Oh, I forgot. That's like 1990, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And this used to not be on my top 20, but I still watch it every year almost, and it cracks me up every time. So that's why it's there. It just still makes me laugh.
Yep, it's a John Hughes film. Yep.
It's just one funny bit after another.
Yep. Yeah, yeah.
And I think that I'm on number 13 or something like that.
I think so. Yeah.
Dances with Wolves.
Yep.
Which
Long,
we just talked about.
and it has Kevin Costner in it. Yes.
Yep. Next we have Sneakers.
Gosh,
it wasn't in yours, was it, Jason?
No. Now I've got like a top 40. Anyway.
Tell the folks at home about Sneakers, Jason.
I mean, just you talk about a cast. I mean, think about that. Think about all the people that were in that movie. I mean, just Sidney Poitier, Robert Redford, Dan Aykroyd. I mean, come on. It's just like those three alone right there. That would blow most people's, acting budget out the window. And it was just so well done. Yeah, it was so fun.
I mean, even though it's a bit of a drama, but it's kind of a fun movie. Or, I mean, not drama, but mystery, whatever, thriller.
Yeah, I mean, heck, River Phoenix is in it. Everybody's in that movie.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad I found one that you didn't think of.
Oh, man, that's a good one, too, man. I forgot about that one.
I need to watch it again. I haven't watched it in years.
Yeah.
So come over and watch it. All right. Next one we have The Rocketeer.
Oh, wow. Good one. Good one.
To me, great quality movie. Could have been made in just about any century.
Yeah, because it was kind of that past future look. Art Deco is the word. The whole movie was Art Deco.
Really, really beautiful movie.
Yeah, well done. Just the art direction in it was.
I'm not just talking about Jennifer Connelly.
Amen. But we all remember Labyrinth. But yeah, I think all the different little funny things about Hollywood back then that they touched on.
Yeah.
It was just well done.
It's kind of like Iron Man before Iron Man in a way,
In a way, yeah.
The character gives you that feeling, because he flies. But anyway,
right.
All right, next in line. I've lost track on what number I'm on, but
yeah. Oh boy,
Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, look at that.
And the reason I picked this one because to me it might be the best well animated Disney movie. Not just as somebody that likes animation, just the way they created the movie was really well done, and it's a good story. So the next one we have is The Lion King, another animated movie.
Gene went on animation here. Yeah.
I know. I don't know. I forgot that I put this one in the top 20. But again, another great story. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think this movie won Academy Awards maybe and all kinds of other stuff that had never happened with animation.
At least for the soundtrack, I know with Bernie Taupin and Elton John. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a great story. And so our next movie we have Forrest Gump.
Yep, another big one.
That's a fun one to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Heat.
Oh, wow.
Which I don't think you had in your top 20.
No, not my favorite movie.
Oh, really? It's not my favorite, but I do enjoy watching it. It's just an interesting kind of movie.
It is, yeah.
And, Val Kilmer, again, steals the show in it, of course.
That's Val. Yeah, he always steals the show.
Just a great... I think his character is what makes me like the movie so much.
Yep.
So our next movie we have, which this might be number 5, I'm not sure. October Sky.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I need to watch this again.
A good, clean movie. Just great story.
I need to watch it again. Early Jake Gyllenhaal movie, right?
Yep.
All right. So our next one is
One Ping Only, Vasily.
The Hunt for Red October, which this one, now we're getting into the debatable, could be my favorite movie of the 90s. But I do really like this movie.
Yeah, that was the first one done of the Tom Clancy novels.
Yeah.
And, it's hard to beat it. I mean, Sir Sean Connery, much as I can't stand the other guy, Alec Baldwin.
Well, it's Alec Baldwin's best movie, probably.
Yeah. I mean,
Harrison Ford, it'd been curious to see what he would have done in that movie, but,
Yeah. I mean, it'd be interesting. It was
just such a great adventure movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
All right. I think we're getting to the top 3 maybe here. Let's see. We have A River Runs Through It,
Ah, yes.
which I don't think was on your top 20.
No, but oddly enough, it's in my top 20 of all time.
Ah,
Which is
gotcha.
kind of odd.
Another great, fun story.
Yeah, clean one. I mean, concentrates on faith and a lot of other things and the struggle. You know, I think it's obviously it's about brothers and family structure altogether. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right, and then we have Apollo 13, which I think might have been in your top 20. Right?
Yep, it was.
Okay. Now, my last one is probably an obvious one. I don't know if you've already guessed it yet. No, wait, I'm sorry. We're on number 2. The Last of the Mohicans.
Oh yeah.
A great, fun movie. Again, it's kind of like Dances with the Wolves in a way because it's just real epic and long and that sort of thing and Western. But it's a fun movie to watch. I mean, it does have its, it's fun. And this was the one I meant. Braveheart.
Yeah.
So, those top 5 or 6 right there, maybe not Heat, but I just couldn't of all these 20, I just couldn't think of one that's my absolute favorite one. But Braveheart. A lot of people like Braveheart because of the big one-liners in it and the epic battles and stuff. But I just think it's a good story.
Yeah, it's one that I'm glad he told. Embellished a bit, but still well done on probably somebody we would have never heard of otherwise.
I mean, it's an entertaining movie to watch, much less just, because a lot of movies have great battle scenes and great characters and stuff like that. But this movie has a plot, and you go through the plot of everything that happens. Which I don't know. I guess it gets overlooked sometimes. So that was just my general feeling of that.
No, that's a good list. I like that.
Yeah. So what do you think, Jason? What's your?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot on there that I would have probably put on there too.
I don't know if you took notes or if you want me to go back through it, but let's get your assessment there.
Obviously, Heat's not really one of my favorites. I appreciate the acting jobs that are, people that were in it.
Storyline, you're just not a big fan of?
Yeah, I get tired.
I haven't watched it in years, but it's kind of a espionage type deal, right? And he plays sort of a double agent type guy.
I mean, it's a good movie. I just, a lot of people talk about it. It didn't hit with me as hard as everybody else, but I mean, it's still a good movie.
Right.
Obviously, I don't think I put any animated films in there.
But there's 3 of the best ones I've ever made, though.
Yeah.
Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, and Aladdin.
Yeah. I think Little Mermaid's up there.
Yeah, that was for the time, for sure.
Yeah, that was that little run of Disney, like, crazy hits that they did.
Yeah, and that was just before they got
CGI.
Essentially, the acts from basically Toy Story was the beginning of the end for a lot of the 2D animation stuff.
Incel art. Yeah.
Did you? I doubt you've seen it, but there's a great documentary called Pixels versus Pencils out there, and it talks about that. It's a great, and a lot of Disney former animators talk about the transition of it and 2D animation. So,
well, I mean, when Disney bought Pixar, it was like, that was pretty much a clear indication of where the direction they were going. And one of the founders of Pixar now runs like their attractions at all the parks. So there's a few good. The Pixar story is good as well. That documentary, but I mean, nothing wrong with the animated stuff. I wasn't even thinking animated, because I guess I think animation can kind of come out at any time.
Right.
So it just didn't hit me specifically 90s. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Well, as a contrast to my 1980s favorite movies, I think I had Secret of NIMH as an animated movie in that one. There were a few other good animated movies of the 80s, but not as many. I mean, if we did like a 60s and 70s top 20 one day, who knows?
In there. Yeah.
We might. There would be some. The Jungle Book would be in there. I guarantee you that. Yeah. And I'd probably have Sword and Stone.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree with your list pretty much. I mean, had a lot of stuff that literally I would have put on there. Back to the Future 3. I mean, I know that was in the 90s, but I just forget because it's still linked to the first one to me.
Right. It's kind of an 80s saga movie thing.
Yeah, it's the end of an 80s saga, but still came out in the 90s.
Right. And when we think of Back to the Future, you think 1985. You forget that.
Whatever. Right. Yeah, that it was spanning all those, almost, it was like half a decade worth.
Yep.
Yeah, I think, obviously there's some good ones on there that kind of snuck in there, like Sneakers. Movies like that were
I
just
knew
like,
you'd like that one.
that was just one that was like, oh, I forgot about that movie. You know, I just think there's so many movies. We forget how many movies were made in the 90s. We forget how many of our Friday nights were spent at the movie theaters, paying those crazy prices of like $5 for a movie ticket.
Oh, yeah.
Mom still sneaking, snacks in their large purse.
Statute of limitations.
That's exactly right. But because we were right at that we were right at the edge of like, yes, we were renting movies on VHS, but there's still that, and I still think there's a thrill of going to a movie theater to see a movie. And I think 90s was the summer blockbuster era. The 90s, you have all your summer blockbusters. I mean, Jurassic Park was one of those,
Right. Which I guess got started in the 80s with the,
Michael Crichton novel. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
movies like Back to the Future kind of got that started in.
Well, you talk about that. Yeah. I mean, there's always been summer blockbusters, but I think the 90s with Jerry Bruckheimer and people like that, they just took it to the nth degree where, all the different fast food restaurants were advertising the movie, and it's just this huge
Speaking of go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, speaking of Bruckheimer, I was trying to think of a few of his 90s movies. What were they?
The Rock, Armageddon.
All those. Okay, was Armageddon was a 90s movie? I couldn't remember if that was around 2000 or 2001.
Oh. You know what? It might have been, actually.
Okay.
You're right. You're right on that.
Okay, gotcha.
But either way, it was kind of an extension of that. I mean, you had, what was it? Days of Thunder.
Con Air?
Yeah.
Okay.
Days of Thunder was 80s, right?
Yeah,
or was it 90? Was it 19?
That was like an 89. Might have been a 90 movie. I don't know.
Yeah. That kind of feel, all those movies like that are Jerry Bruckheimer and Don Simpson. Those kind of movies. And he still does them and still makes success, because it's all about the entertainment value with him, which I respect. A lot of people can't stand like, oh, those are just, silly movies.
Right.
But what do you do when you go to the movie theater? You escape and you're entertained. Mm-hmm. And those definitely do that. I mean, Ron Howard had his stuff too, obviously Apollo 13.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of stuff was like, he kind of capitalized on that big movie, epic story movie.
Yeah. Can you guess what my favorite Bruckheimer movie is?
Favorite Bruckheimer movie. Is it Top Gun?
No. Although pretty good one. It's post 2000. I'll give you that hint.
Really?
Yeah. Which I'll probably do one of these 2000 to 2010 top 20s. 20 movies, because there were so many good movies between the year 2000 and 2010.
I'm gonna have to look at the lists because it all kind of blurs from 2000.
Well, National Treasure is my favorite Bruckheimer movie.
Oh, Jerry Bruckheimer's National Treasure, yeah.
That is just one of my favorites.
Such a great, like, fairly clean movie too. If you ever watched it, like, I could watch this with kids and not feel bad, No,
I watched that movie a couple. Those two movies are two of my favorite movies. Probably my top 50 movies.
To the point where I'm like, I wish they'd make a third one because it was just so well done.
Well, that's a whole blogosphere thing right there. People have been anticipating and waiting for Bruckheimer. And last I looked, and because I did look into this a couple weeks ago, Bruckheimer says that it's on the table.
It's Bruckheimer. It's not Bruckheimer. It's Bruckheimer.
Bruckheimer. That's what I said. Bruckheimer said that he's waiting on Nicolas Cage to kind of to line up and figure it out.
Okay, let's go. Yeah,
we're waiting on Nick Cage.
He's too busy doing movies about himself.
People are trying to figure out what's going on, and it might become a thing. Fans are hoping it's a thing.
My point being, like, you remember summer coming home from college,
right?
Or being in high school. What did you do? You went and saw movies. You went and saw the newest, like, crazy blockbuster, gonna entertain you, not gonna win any awards, but gonna entertain you movie.
Yeah. Well, I have that memory. I can think of one exactly. I came home from the summer. Well, I don't know if it was when I came home, but I remember being home in the summer of one of these years, and it might have been 1998. And I think it was Liar Liar.
Yeah.
I saw that in the movie theater with a bunch of friends.
Yeah, I mean that's just what you do. That was a part of our social
Mm-hmm.
fabric back then. Was hey, let's go. What are we gonna go watch? Let's go watch a movie. Yeah, let's go pay too much for concessions. Some things never change. And
Not me.
you know what I mean? Well, yeah,
Yeah.
Gene's always been cheap. I mean, why wouldn't you want to pay $7 for a Coke, Gene? What the heck's wrong with you?
Splurge every now and then.
But after working in a movie theater in the '90s, actually in the late '90s, early 2000s, now I understand why they charge so much for beverages. They'll make jack off of tickets.
Yeah.
Problem
Well,
is, the consumer has to pay both of them. So,
you know what though? These 90 movies though, to me, they were you were much more of a movie historian, I think, than I am in a lot of ways. But correct me if I'm wrong. These 90s movies were kind of like the catalyst and stepping stone to these huge blockbusters we had between like the years 2000 and 2012, 15-ish.
yeah,
You
man,
had all these movies from like Gladiator to
yeah,
the Harry Potter movies. I don't think that they could have been these big blockbusters without these 90s movies.
there's one you missed. I mean, Saving Private Ryan.
Oh, yeah.
Bigger,
I didn't.
a
I
90s
didn't put
movie
that
than
on
that.
my honorable mentions. I think I just forgot to.
Well, as I was saying, there's so many movies. It's hard to
Mhm.
it's hard to put it down to the top 20. So
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm kind of weird with war movies.
yeah,
Like I like them, but they're because it's about war, and I hate war. So I mean, but a lot of times they're sort of like westerns. I mean they
Yeah.
can be good and entertaining. Like I love When We Were Soldiers was a good war movie.
Soldiers. Yeah, about the
The
first
Patriot
battles.
was a good, which that may have been a '90s movie. The Patriot, I don't remember.
Oh, yeah, it's true. I don't know if it was or not.
Might have been 2000 plus.
Yeah, We Were Soldiers was good because it was, about the first battles of Vietnam before we really knew what the enemy was and what they were doing. So it was kind of interesting, and it was,
Mhm.
obviously, once again showing how pointless that was. But, it's, yeah, war movies are tough. I think Saving Private Ryan is my favorite one just because of how well it was done.
Interesting. Mine might be The Great Escape.
Yeah, I mean, Great Escape was good. It just wasn't quite the production that Saving Private Ryan. I mean, that first 30, 40 minutes of Saving Private Ryan.
Well, no doubt that because they had the technology and
well, that's the difference, yeah,
and all that good stuff.
I think you'd have to do almost decades war movies if you if you were looking at that. But The Great Escape, obviously, Steve McQueen doesn't get much better than Steve McQueen.
Yeah.
But it's just funny how I think what you were talking about the 2000s to 2015 blockbusters. I just think it was a continuation.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of those movies could have been released in the 90s,
Mm-hmm.
and still been as successful. So it's just like a
Mm-hmm.
if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing.
Well, I don't know when Peter Jackson started writing The Lord of the Rings, but I would assume somewhere around 99 or 2000.
I mean, I'm pretty sure J.R.R. Tolkien wrote that. But anyway,
no, I meant for the,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding with they tried to do Lion, Witch, and the Ward. They tried to do the Chronicles of Narnia movies, but they never took off.
Yeah, they were okay. The first one was pretty good.
The first one was great, and then they kind of started trying to, and then they started adding stuff like some weird fog or something in the Voyage of the Dawn Treader. It was like, they had for such great books that we love, C.S. Lewis,
excuse me,
and what they are, alluding to. That first one was phenomenal. And then the rest of them are just kind of like, oh, we're trying to catch up to the other one, and then they just gave up on it, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah, because there was more books. I'm like, where's the movies?
Well, another one. Oh gosh, I was trying to think. I mean, there's all kinds of movies that had poor, interpretations of the book. But
oh yeah, all over the place. There's some people who are such avid readers they don't like any interpretation of a book, but.
Right.
I mean, obviously, Lord of the Rings was a lot of walking in the woods. The Fellowship of the Ring was a lot of walking in the woods. That's what my friend Mark says. He's like, I didn't like it. It was a lot of walking in the woods.
I mean, I think you just have to look at it as you give the screenwriters grace. I mean,
yeah, you have to because you get a movie like that would have been 7 hours long.
As long as they put in a good effort and
Yeah.
didn't butcher something completely up without at least telling you that they butchered it up. Sometimes they do that and they're kind of like, we're just doing a whole different interpretation. I think you got to give them grace. You can't just say, well, this just didn't turn out, like whatever.
And if you look at Lord of the Rings, I mean, talk about some of the most challenging dialogue to write for screen.
Right.
I mean, Aragorn, son of Eredavil. What? Who's son of what? Like it's very wordy. And, when you look at how Tolkien studied before he wrote that book, you kind of understand he was linguistics. And so he tried to make the most difficult book to read ever. And, and to try to catch up with, rich story, but yeah. But
yeah.
All I'm saying is that was our time. That was our time that we spent on the weekends was movies,
Another thing about the 90s too that I thought about was they don't really have, they sort of do this. Kind of continuation. Jack Ryan on Prime TV comes to mind, but the 90s was like, the 90s were like the time of those kind of movies though.
Yeah.
They did the Jason Bournes in the early 2000s, but the 90s, like The Fugitive and the Jack Ryan movies, and we could probably think of a few other ones where it was just sort of like they loved doing these crime, mystery, espionage type things.
Or sagas. Yeah, they're like sagas where it's a continuation of characters. They may change actors, but it's the same character. Very much like Bond movies,
I kind of miss that genre. They don't really do that as much anymore. But.
Yeah, I know. And now we're waiting on a new Bond. So, totally different actor. So it's interesting. It's like, I don't know. There's a part of me that misses that kind of time frame where we barely had the internet, people still planned to meet places because not many of us had cell phones back then because they were so expensive, even in the 90s, So there was that little like last gasp of true, like real social interaction, without, these things that we all have, distracting us. And I think the 90s were that last gasp.
Maybe so.
We were in high school, college, me and you. So it was like that perfect like transition time of life. And it was that time where like,
before the digital age, Jason and I did this many times, and I'll close it out here, but how many times did you're going to hang out with your buddies. It's Friday night. I'm going back to this is 2005. We're going to meet up with the buddies. We're going to do whatever. All right, hey, let's go rent a movie. Yeah. Oh yeah, where are we going to go? Let's go down to the Screenplay Video and see what they got on the shelves.
Oh my gosh, you just went back in my head.
Remember those days.
Screenplay Video, yeah. Privately owned, or they're all privately owned, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mom and pop video stores, just, man.
And of course, Blockbuster.
Blockbuster, who we all hated, and now we wish was still around. There's only one in Bend, Oregon. That's the last one.
I always liked going in the Blockbuster. It was always cool to see the displays and
buy all the 20 million things of candy. You smell that popcorn smell.
That candy and popcorn. It was kind of like going to the movies without going to the movies.
They did a good job, I think, with it.
Yeah.
The slightly opaque movie covers, so your eyes went crazy trying to find something. And of course, they had all the covers on the. They had all the covers on the shelf, but not. Nothing was behind them. You had to wait till somebody brought it back.
It's easy to Monday night. It's easy to Monday morning quarterback, but I didn't mean to interrupt you, but what if they'd bought Netflix?
Well, they tried. Remember, there were Blockbuster machines, just like Netflix for a while, just like Redbox for a while.
To the game too late,
and it was just too little, too late. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like Tower Records, the same kind of thing. Those record stores and stuff, which are record stores that come back for actual LPs, which is nice. But like the whole media store, like our Media Plays, big stores like that had all of that stuff, books, records.
What do you call those? Physical media, DVD, Blu-rays. They're coming back though, aren't they? More and more people are coming back to buying those.
I don't know about Blu-ray, but I like Blu-ray. I think it's one of the better qualities you're going to find, and it's something you can own and put in. It's always going to work. Doesn't matter.
Physical media. People are starting to buy that again, aren't they?
Yeah, there's strange resurgences in like cassettes for some reason right now.
Hmm.
I don't know how. I'm like, you don't understand the quality of a cassette really sucks.
I'd rather have a CD.
But whereas a vinyl is the ultimate to me of listening to
Well, yeah.
music for warmth and everything else. Cassette just kind of, man, it's magnetic media. If you get an old cassette, it's going to sound worse than it did before because the magnetic media breaks down.
That's too much, just kind of a retro feel there for me. I'll just deal with a CD if I want to go retro and
that's what I'm saying.
Or vinyl, but
My thought is, man, how about I go raid my old cassettes and see if somebody wants to pay me like $20 for one online. I'm like, okay, I'll sell them. My Footloose soundtrack that's slightly, scratched from where I dropped it off my bike, in the 80s. It's like, what do you want me to do? But there's something about holding, owning an actual copy of something, kind of like software. Nobody owns software anymore. They own a code.
Yep.
But there's also something about going to see that movie in the theater, in the dark, on the big screen. It's cold, it's dark, you really escape, So
what was the last movie you went to see at the theater?
Last movie I saw at the theater.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good question, Gene.
Have you seen one this year?
No.
Oh, okay. Me neither.
The last one may have been Ferrari. About Enzo Ferrari.
Okay. I heard Horizon is a decent. I mean, I've heard it's kind of hard to follow and it kind of drags, but
Kevin Costner movie drag.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to see Kevin Costner as anybody but John Dutton now. So from Yellowstone, so it's hard.
Yeah, and they also did you know Gladiator 2 is coming out?
Yeah, no thanks. I think that's
crazy.
That's called trying too hard in my book. It might be entertaining, but it'll always be a little short. The original. Not that I would want Russell Crowe to do a movie again like that. No, thank you. Mm-hmm. Had enough of him trying to sing in Les Mis. But I'm trying to think. I actually might go see, but believe it or not, I might go see Twister 2 in the movie theater.
I heard about that one coming out. Yeah.
Why not? It harkens back to that time frame, and it turns out my wife actually, back in '96, when they first moved here from Tennessee, they went to Colonial 18 to watch Twister, and I went to Colonial 18 in '96 to watch Twister. So I'd like to say we passed each other.
You might have passed each other.
Probably not. But
might have been like, oh, who's she?
Let me have that right now. But then somehow, what's his name? Oh gosh, what's his name? Totally leaving me now. From
Jimmy Fox.
No, from La La Land and Notebook. What's his name? Actor, blonde hair.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
No, blonde hair.
Brad Pitt.
No, young.
Young. What movie?
By the way, Brad Pitt's making an F1 movie. It's supposed to come out next year.
Interesting.
I'm like, first off, you're way too old to have ever sit in an F1 car. But anyway. So now the other movie I was going to tell you is the Fall Guy. They're making a movie on the Fall Guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, it better have Lee Major's theme at the beginning. Him singing, I'm not the kind to kiss and tell, that song. There are things like that. I'm like, strange when they try to do something that's like from our era.
Well, they do that with a lot of stuff. I mean, remember they tried to do a redo of Dukes of Hazzard and some other movies, the A-Team. All right, Jason, we got to close it out, man.
We do have to close it out.
Maybe one night we'll do an epic 3-hour where we just chat about whatever comes to mind. I don't know.
Oh, that'd be great.
But anyways, before I edit all this out,
take this trip down the movie phone call. Call movie phone to check all of your time.
I enjoyed our epic go back to the 90s movies. And I'm glad you liked my choices.
No, I do. Yeah, I was excited to hear them because I'm like, I know he's going to have a bunch I didn't have because I know there's tons of movies from back then.
And I realized my choices were very blockbuster-ish and, I didn't do any cult following type movies.
Well, that's why they're your choices.
That's true.
Even though they didn't have Tombstone on there, which was very disappointing. But anyway.
Oh yeah, did I?
No, you didn't. See, there's movies all over the place from the 90s. It's like, oh wait, that was it. No, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Good talking to you, Jason.
Good
Thanks
talk.
for joining us, everybody. Like, share, subscribe. Tell your mother and your uncle and your brother and your cousin, your sister and your brother, and your brother's uncle's cousin, sister, best friend about Talk of the Now. Watch us on YouTube. Be nice. We love you. We don't love you because we don't know you, but we do. We love everybody in a general sense.
We love the idea.
Am I talking too much?
Probably. That's fine.
All right, Jason. Have a good one.
All right, now.
All right.